Hi, I'm Larry Kavanagh, and I'm the author of this book, Do Octogenarians Count Old Goats to Go to Sleep? And I'm smiling because I'm about to read you a chapter from this book which tells you how to be nasty. Now, strictly speaking, according to this book, being nasty means being a curmudgeon. And you're not supposed to be entitled to be a curmudgeon until you're 80 years old. I realize that many of you watching this video may not have reached your 80th birthday yet, but it's never too soon to start learning. So, without any further fanfare, let's get into Chapter 6 of the book, which will explain the when, where, and how to become a nasty old goat. And of course, you too are welcome to purchase this book from Amazon in Kindle, paperback, or hardcover editions for a very modest price. Here goes. Chapter 6. Become a curmudgeon. Once you reach the ripe old age of 80, nobody will be surprised if you act like a curmudgeon. Many people, some of them your friends, actually expect you to become a curmudgeon. Not so when you were younger. A 40-year-old who acts like a curmudgeon is considered a dirty old man, or a woman is considered a dirty old hag, and is usually despised and ridiculed. But if you're 80, your curmudgeon tendencies will most likely be considered as eccentricities, and therefore harmless. This is not to say that a person is required to become curmudgeonly when he turns 80, but given the right circumstances, it might be a pleasant way to pass the time. And in retirement, you will have lots of time. First of all, what is a curmudgeon? For many years, Jimbob thought it was another word for a baseball bat or a sledgehammer. But no, that would be a bludgeon. Dictionary means a thick stick with a heavy end. The word curmudgeon, as per the Oxford English Dictionary, was first used in 1587 in the writings of John Hooker, and it meant a bad-tempered person, especially an old one. The somewhat redundant term old curmudgeon was first used in 1716 in the writings of Thomas Ward, who was described as a Roman Catholic controversialist. Wow. Jimbob and Sue Ann had both been Roman Catholics all their lives, but had never known that they could be called controversialists. There's nothing in the Oxford English Dictionary that precludes a woman from being a curmudgeon, and so we may take it as being gender neutral. A younger person may ask, what's the fun in being a curmudgeon? But that younger person must know, first of all, that a curmudgeon does not have to be deliberately nasty or intentionally evil. A dedicated curmudgeon can simply adopt the attitude that he is the most important person in the universe and that everybody else here is here simply to annoy him. This makes everybody else the bad guys, and he alone is the good guy. Here's an example of how this plays out in the real world. Say it's Halloween night, and some little kids come knocking at your door, shouting, "Trick or treat!" You can simply open your door and shout back at them, "Go away! You're getting nothing from me!" There would be no guilt associated with this, as long as you understand that these kids should be at home doing their homework, their costumes are ridiculous, and they have done no useful service for you to have earned a reward of some candy. Nothing evil in that. You're simply being logical. Okay? Well, another example. Suppose you go to a theater or to a baseball game. There's a good seat you'd like to take, but someone else is sitting there. So, adopting a grim expression, you look directly at this person and you say, "That's my seat. You need to sit somewhere else." The other person will look back at you will notice that you are very old, will assume that you are non compos mentis, and will expect that you will make a big disturbance if he doesn't surrender the seat. So he will leave you, and you will get the seat. You, being the perfect curmudgeon, will assume that the other person left because he realized that you were more deserving of the seat than he was. The same strategy would work if you were on a crowded bus and wanted a seat. Okay, would a proper curmudgeon be worried that people won't like him if he acts this way? Well, that is a possible consequence. But remember, a proper curmudgeon is more than 80 years old, and being crotchety is one of the expectations for a person of that age. There's a strong possibility that his neighbors might take sympathy on his senility and bring him some homemade soup. Jimbob and Sue Ann Hassenfuss were not born as curmudgeons, nor did anything happen during their many years of upbringing to encourage the growth of a curmudgeon-type gene. However, on one fine day, they both decided it would be fun to join the Bib Store Philatelic Society. This was a newly formed local group of aspiring thespians whose sole purpose was to put on amateur plays and musicals, which then they could perform at the Louisa Arts Center. The group consisted mainly of young adults, although there was also a smattering of seniors. As soon as they formed, they set a goal to put on 2 special performances. There would be a Christmas performance of A Christmas Carol and a spring performance of The Wizard of Oz. Before they could even have tryouts, the Hassenfusses were given their parts in these 2 productions. The younger members of the Bib Store group were excited and certain that Jimbob would be a perfect embodiment of Ebenezer Scrooge, the crotchety old man who despised everything. And Sue Ann would be fantastic as the Wicked Witch of the West. Jimbob and Sue Ann were surprised and flattered that both of them were cast as stars, even though they had not crossed the stage since high school. Both Hassenfusses eagerly began to try out their new roles as the neighborhood old and mean people. Whenever a neighbor dropped by the house, Jimbob insisted on giving a performance highlighted by shouting dramatically, "Are there no prisons? Are the union workhouses still in operation? If these people would rather die, they had better do it and decrease the surplus population." Oh, Jimbob's performance startled many of the neighbors and even caused his youngest grandchild to be frightened and run out of the room. For other visitors, Sue Ann would screech, "Just try and stay out of my way. Just try. I'll get you, my pretty, and your little dog, too." Were they actually beginning to enjoy this? Was this acting, or was it real? Were they forgetting themselves and becoming their own nasty characters? One of Jimbob's neighbors finally had a word. They were taking their acting roles too far. He told the Hassenfusses, in the kindest way he could, that they were in danger of alienating the neighbors. "Jimbob, Sue Ann, relax. Smell the flowers. Remember that Scrooge gets very soft and understands Christmas at the end. Remember that the Wicked Witch becomes a pathetic figure when she melts. Have some wine. Give your grandchildren a hug." Suddenly, reality snapped into Jimbob. He thought for a moment about his old college roommate, Sam McGuffey, about the letters he got from him when Sam's first business went out of business. he remembered how sad and sympathetic he had been for Sam. Sue Ann felt remorse for screeching while her grandchild was in tears. Filled with guilt, they decided to focus on the end of their stories instead of the harsh beginning. Jimbob focused on compassion as he practiced Scrooge's ending line, "I will honor Christmas in my heart and try to keep it all the year." Sue Ann applied herself passionately to emoting sympathy as she said, "Look what you've done! I'm melting! Oh, what a world!" All in all, it was well that neither of the Hassenfusses had pursued a stage career in their younger days. Nevertheless, they tried very hard to be the best curmudgeons that they could be. As an actor, sometimes it is necessary to learn how to be both a Jekyll and a Hyde without forgetting who you are yourself. How did the two plays go? Well, if you remember that this was an amateur production, and remember that the audience was going to consist mainly of friends from the neighborhood and members of the family, it would be safe to assume that both plays received loud applause. Both Jimbob and Sue Ann decided that it was more fun to be nice than to be mean, and too difficult to adopt the multiple personalities required of the acting profession. They have turned down all other acting opportunities. And that's my story for today. If you are inclined to try your hand at being nasty now, may you have a great day.